A good conversation can shift the direction of change forever. Would you leave it to chance? Join the authors of Design to Change and explore this series of conversations with designers and event owners. Driven by the need and conversations with event owners and event designers who use the event canvas around the world, this series explores the depths of conversations to elevate your abilities to look and act beyond the now. Episodes are hosted by Ruud Janssen, Roel Friesen, Dennis Lehrer, and Paul Rookens, with illustrious changemakers, designers, and pioneers in the field of design and beyond. To explore these conversations and additional content, visit designtochange.online. For now, let's start the conversation.
Conversations.
Okay, here we are. This time remote from across the next country in Paris at Prince de Galles. I'm delighted to have with me today Philippe Clarinval. Welcome back to the Design to Change show, Philippe.
Thank you so much for having me, Ruud. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah. So, as you might remember, Philippe was on this podcast twice already. Once in the on-site and the on-stage and the backstage version of it, and then Year Plus One, which we recorded live from where I am today. And then here we are in Year Plus Two, and Philippe is in a completely new environment, one that I had a chance to visit most recently. And we're looking forward to catching up with this changemaker, who, as you can tell by his backdrop, if you are watching the video version says, act with integrity, put people first, pursue excellence, embrace change, and have a positive impact. Now, not to mow the lawn in front of you, Philippe, but there's that one question, remember, that I kept forgetting to ask in the first and second episode, which was, a good conversation can determine the direction of change forever. Would you leave it to chance?
Last time I said no, I wouldn't, but I think now it's slightly more nuanced. I think I would think about what I want to say and what I want the reaction to look like, but I think I would leave a little latitude and see where the conversation goes a bit more.
Yeah, I like that. Now, in between last year's episode and this year's episode, a lot has transpired on your horizon of change. Mm-hmm. For those of you that don't know, Philippe and I know each other for quite some time. Back in 2005, I think we met first, 21 years ago. Mm-hmm. But I'll let Philippe give you a quick little update on what's transpired in the last year since our Year Plus One episode.
A lot has changed. So last year when we met, I was just about to submit, or I just submitted my thesis on strategic alignment. I was very much the theory nerd who has worked with a lot of hotel GMs, and now I'm back in the rink now at the Prince de Galles in Paris, which is a lovely hotel. And I was asked, well, don't you regret going back into hospitality? And I said, well, actually, I haven't returned into hospitality per se. I've just dug deeper into strategic alignment. And this is the mindset that I have. And so I discovered a new company with Marriott, with Prince de Galles, discovered a new city with Paris, and also a new country. So the context has changed dramatically, and the comfort zone has expanded also. So yeah, I can tell you there has been a lot of change.
Amazing. And last time I remember you had just submitted your PhD thesis, and you were, when I asked you, is that something to be proud of? And you said, I will wait and see how it is received. How does it feel a year later, and what happened on that side of things?
Wow. Yes, I wait and see. So in the interim, there was a defense, which was a very interesting experience for me. I was also remote like this with a jury on the other side, and they were extremely meticulous about the paper. So they even spotted one difference in tenses. So somewhere I wrote in future tense, where I wrote in the past and the present tense in the whole rest. So they were extremely meticulous. But all in all, it was very well received, and they said, "Well, look, this is not only for hospitality." And I thought that's exactly the aim, is to help other industries as well with strategic alignment through transformational leadership. And it's it has grounded me a lot. You know, when you see many practitioners, they lead by instinct, and researchers, they often lead through theory. And I think it's a combination of both. So it's those decades of operational transformations and the crisis leadership and the luxury service expertise, and now this rigorous research framework that helps me in aligning organizations, and actually one leader at the time. So um, yeah, that is what the thesis has given me, is given the grounding and the rigor and a certain way of thinking that I can transmit to the people that surround me. And this is extremely valuable because we have now not only alignment in thought but also in vocabulary.
So a common language in values is a critical thing when you're a practitioner, because you spent in that transitional year, you really dug deeper into finalizing your PhD.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like you said, you're back in the ring, right, of the practitioners versus the scholarly approach. Yet the common language, when the rubber hits the road, of a serious hotel, hotel in Paris. I was there a couple of weeks ago. We had lunch, and it's fascinating to see Philippe in his environment, and see how the people on his team, when he took me not just the front of the house but also the back of the house, it gives you a really good sense of that change of context that we were talking about extensively last year. And I've seen you in various contexts, which is also, I think, very interesting to see a development in somebody over time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to take you back to something you recently did, if we may mention that, because you recently also spoke to the leadership of a very large transport company, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if the name can be said, but I'll leave that up to you, Philippe, if you want to share that. But the curiosity that others have in the things that you have researched transpires the field of hospitality.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we can talk about it because they have talked about it. And
Okay.
usually, when I have people who invite me for a keynote, I'm very discreet and I don't always say who is the person who invites me. But they were very adamant about it, and it's a Swiss railway company, the SBB, and it's obviously one of the companies that I'm most proud of as a Swiss citizen. So there are few companies that Swiss people feel very unified about, and SBB is certainly one of them.
Yeah.
And they having me there speaking to their top management was extremely enriching, not only for them, hopefully, but also for me, because I could see in every smile, smirk, um, sights, how people actually thought of what the guy is talking about actually applies to me as well. And this
Mm,
is very interesting. When I speak about hospitality, they see it adapted to their environment.
mm.
This is so exciting. And yeah, yeah.
I think when our listeners, sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, it was when they asked me if I wanted to do it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought it's a great thing because in the past I thought of my career as having an impact on one guest or one employee or one hotel at the time, and here I can multiply it. It's through this executive education or keynote speeches or advisory work, etc. And where I can transmit what we live in hospitality, and they see, okay, it applies to us as well, and what can we learn from him, how he transforms organization or how he improves processes or cultures, how that can benefit them. So this is the role that I see now for me as a multiplier actually.
yeah. Now, the SBB or CFF, or there's many different, in the different languages, it has a different acronym, right? So,
Mhm.
but let's stick to SBB for now. The Swiss railways, I think most people across, most of our listeners might have been on them or heard about them because their level of exactness and their level of precision in terms of transport, reach, um, knows, I think, no parallel, or at least very difficult to parallel that level of expertise over time.
Mhm.
When you talk about values alignment for a company like that versus the values that you're now developing um, at the Prince de Galles, is there like a maturity level that an organization functions at when it comes to value alignment, or does it keep changing over time?
I think the values they should be quite constant. Yeah, but it's a constant endeavor to realign. So it's not something that you reach, it's a journey. And every decision that everybody takes at the time has to somehow fit into this framework of values.
Hmm.
And it was actually very interesting to see when you see the values of SBB and how much clarity they have about it and how credible it is, yeah, versus other companies where they have values somewhere written in a glossy paper, but it's actually not understood, or even worse, not lived. So I can say that they are quite aligned with the values plus with their purpose statement, which is connecting Switzerland. And I thought this is just brilliant, because it's just two words, but it's so difficult to find the right words that resonate with everybody, or all the stakeholders involved, not only the employees, but all the passengers and the people who are financing it, etc., etc. So connecting Switzerland is so powerful. And I
Yeah,
was so happy to see that.
yeah. And I think them reaching out to you to talk about this, I think was, an interesting move from their perspective. Because I do believe when you reach that level of simplicity in clarifying what your mission is,
Mhm.
the ability to improve from it, right? If you are a leader in your class, the constant striving to do that even better, to align even better to that, is like a perpetual quest, right? Like you were mentioning, you never get there. You almost feel like you're nearly there, and then something changes, and you have to realign, and you have to re-establish and change that
Absolutely.
again.
Yes. And the thing is, everybody wants or needs to want to be aligned. So it is one finding is sometimes the culture doesn't allow it. There are some organizations where alignment is not a priority or the top management doesn't want it, etc. So you have to get alignment about alignment first. Yeah, and they have it.
You have to get alignment about alignment first. So this now we're going into the
Yeah.
depths of the
It's like when you're saying you have to be intentional about intention. You have to want something very deeply, to do it.
yeah,
Actually, I just came up with this alignment about alignment. Yeah, because some people don't want it, or they don't understand it, or they don't consider it a priority. But everybody sees an organization that is misaligned because something is just off. Yeah, and then there
yeah,
are the organization that just thrive, and sometimes people don't understand why, but I can tell you it's because they are aligned, and it's only a minority of organizations that are like that. And it doesn't matter which kind of organization it is. It can be a newspaper stand on the Champs-Élysées, or it can be a luxury hotel, or it can be a whole government. Yeah, when you see what is going on in the world, well, that's an idea of huge misalignment everywhere.
yeah. Last time I was visiting, and we had lunch at the Prince de Galles.
Mhm.
Um, there was also the imminent context that you're in when you're in the center of Paris. You're right off the Champs Elysees, right? And I remember this was what, 2 days or before Paris Saint-Germain was going to win or they didn't know that, I hope. But there was a final of the Champions League, and preeminently, you you had to align your organization and many, this week it's happening in Geneva where the G7 is happening in Evian. So events can be very disruptive to the alignment of organizations. Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah. But then you have to think about what are the possible scenarios. And here we prepared by getting many stakeholders at the table and see, well, what are the risks? What will happen? Because we knew something would happen.
Yeah,
Um, and ultimately, just because we were prepared, nothing happened. So this was very good. Yeah, sometimes it's great when it's not spectacular.
exactly. When the thing you expect does not come out, sometimes that's a good thing, right?
Yes. Yes.
So you might be very aligned on the possible things that might happen,
Hmm.
but sometimes you should be happy that they don't happen.
Yes.
So when it's uneventful, sometimes that's better for an event than if it's eventful.
Hmm. Hmm. This is when
So
we come back from the weekend and you ask, well, how was it? Oh, nothing spectacular, all good, smooth. This is a dream come true, you know.
yeah,
Everybody's happy, all good. That means that it's a well-oiled machine.
and that's important, right? When you are in charge of an organization and responsible for the safety of guests and of staff members and everything that happens in a building,
Yeah.
those are the primary worries, I suppose, of the basic needs of the humans that need to feel safe in their experience of being in a venue or being in an experience. But the most basic need is to be safe, I suppose.
Yes, that's the minimum. That's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about this also with the SBB. Um, they say the priority is punctuality. Well, punctuality, comfort, and all that. Yes, and the funny thing is, when I returned back to Paris, I left Bern with three minutes late. Guess what? I arrived in Basel on time. So they they
They caught
they,
up.
they caught up, and then I left Basel on time, and I arrived in Paris 40 minutes late. So you do the math, and you wonder what is the reason? Is it systems? Is it people? Is it material? Is it strategies? What could it be? And ultimately, they had to refund a part of the ticket, so that
Mhm.
misalignment comes at a cost. And yeah, punctuality has worth.
And a very pragmatic, measurable cost in that case.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Very recently in the news was also, and I'm just thinking about that out loud for a moment, because they might seem like very similar companies, the French railways and the Swiss railways. Depending on where you bought your ticket, when a train got stuck somewhere along the tracks on the French side, I believe it was, overnight, um, the guests that had bought the ticket in Switzerland were put up in hotels and taken care of in a specific way. And those that had bought their ticket on the French railways had to spend the night in the train. Two very different experiences, depending on the source of where the service is delivered from, right? So I think these, like, I think what you're saying, and I think that's really powerful to think about, is that they have very direct, significant impacts on your business and on your bottom line, right? So
Hmm.
the alignment and the precision of getting things to work um, precisely versus them almost working to the degree where there's misalignment just in timing schedules, just a really pragmatic misalignment,
Hmm.
has a direct revenue slash cost impact for both of these companies that can be factored and can be calculated almost.
Yeah, and you're talking about the monetary impact, but imagine also the image, or the pride, or
And
employee engagement
reputation. Yeah.
and reputation and all that. That has a cost as well, but it's seldom calculated.
Yeah. So how different is it to work in Paris than to work in Switzerland or to work in Jakarta, or you've worked in many different environments, and the deltas are the things that are the spice of life, right? The changes and looking back and reflecting on them, maybe. Could I ask for an opinion as to what is that like? Because you've evolved over time through these experiences.
Hmm.
But what's it like to be a leader in these different contexts, and which do you find most interesting?
That's a very powerful question. And actually, yesterday I was thinking about this. Imagine your life is your event. It's just one event, and
Mhm.
working in different areas are just horizons of change. And yes, working in Jakarta was completely different from working in Switzerland, obviously, which is completely different from working in Paris. And when you're designing your event, um, these experiences give you so much value, give you so much uh, wisdom or yeah, experience that you can multiply again. You can just think at a different level. You can speak at a different level. You can interact with people at a different level with from other backgrounds, etc. So it is something that I cannot even quantify. Yeah, and of course, I could have chosen to stay in Switzerland. It's comfortable, it's very predictable, it's very organized and stable and smooth. It's so beautiful to work in Switzerland, I would even argue that people working in Switzerland they don't know the luck that they have and the luxury that they have to work there because everything works and the work ethos is high and the discipline is high, the education is high, etc. And now changing to another environment where it's just different. I'm not criticizing, I'm not judging, I'm not saying this is better or worse, but it's just different. Um, adds or gives me more depth or a thicker skin. Let's say I have learned so much in the past almost year that it's unbelievable. And the fear that I have is when I come back to Switzerland one day is that people won't understand the stuff that I'm talking about. It's like when my sister, who works for the WHO, talks about her Ebola outbreak in Central Africa, or prisons of wars, or bombs exploding everywhere. I just can't fathom what she's gone through, and the
Yeah.
same will happen to me when I'm talking to people in Switzerland in that predictable environment about what is happening in Paris. And Paris is unpredictable, is so unstable. You can have so many occurrences that are events that happen that you didn't foresee, and it's the
Mm.
question of how you react to them, and how much do you let those events go under your skin or not.
Yeah. Now, last time when we were having lunch at the Prince de Galles, one thing stood out for me as well was you mentioned the uh, as we um, as we stood in front of the hotel, there was a new addition to what was engraved in the floor, but also your
Mhm. Yes.
one of your staff members was celebrating his 35th, I think, anniversary with the hotel.
Yeah.
How
You
how
remember what?
important is it to have staff that has a very long, let's say, length of stay, if you will, or in this case, a
Yeah.
long event with, so how important is it to find a balance between those that know long term what something is like versus getting new people in with new thoughts and new visions and balancing those teams? How does that work for you as a hotel GM in Paris?
Yeah, I would have said that it's great to have people who are staying a long time because they are the face of the hotel and they know the tacit knowledge of the hotels, the stories that are not written somewhere in a manual, and they have the experience, etc. And it shows that the work environment is good, that the working culture is good, etc. But I also like to have new blood and new ideas and the younger ones who come and challenge the status quo. So I love having a combination of both. What I don't like is are some, and I've seen that in a previous hotel, not necessarily here, are employees who are staying for a long time because it's just comfortable. That's not a good sign. So we have to be very nuanced when we look at seniority of employees. Is, are they staying just because they are not hungry enough for themselves? So how can they be hungry for the business? Or are they just comfortable? Or is, as some people would say, la soupe est trop bonne. The soup tastes too good. It's too comfortable
The soup
to
is too
move.
tasty. Yeah.
It's too tasty. Yeah. Or um, do we have such a great culture that people want to stay? Or just for me as a leader, it's important to have a balance of both. And
Mm,
the ones who are staying for a long time, how can they enrich the newer generation and vice versa? You know,
mm,
having this mindset of a learning culture is phenomenal when you see that the older ones show the ropes to the younger ones, and the younger
mm,
ones can stimulate the older ones to think slightly differently. That is
yeah,
that is for me where magic happens.
yeah.
And we had one employee here who has just left us because she has retired. And the beauty was she's been here for 36 years or 37 years, and she knew
Wow.
everything. And but she was so discreet with guiding me. You know, I come in with new ideas and you think and all this research and all that stuff. And then she withheld some information because giving me the information would stop me in my um, how you said it, in my élan. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was very wise of her to give me some information and to withhold a few information if they were not relevant.
That's also the having that skill or wisdom or maybe experience or a combination of those things. I think sometimes knowing a lot also gives you maybe some hesitation to make change happen, right? Or like in this case, sharing maybe some of the things might have held you back in your elan to get things going or get things changing. Sometimes not knowing is also a gift, right? The ability to not know, right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes when we talk about event design or design at large, not knowing is a gift that you don't have for a long time.
Hmm.
Because very quickly you start to know, right? So when you're not in the know, that is a really powerful position to design from, but it's also challenging to allow yourself to not know.
Hmm. Having the rookie advantage.
Yeah,
That is when you can change things. It's like Alice in Wonderland. I think that there's a quote there. I didn't know that I could do it, so I did it.
yeah,
Yeah. So this is a beautiful um, metaphor.
yeah.
Yeah, because self-doubt or your self-talk can be the biggest obstacle. And I see it already now. Is sometimes I think, okay, I'm limiting myself just because I know a few things that I haven't known in the past. So it's this self-limiting belief is something that we need to fight, and also help others to fight.
Hmm.
Mm.
And now that you know a lot about, no, let me put it this way. When my brother got his PhD, he said, when you become a PhD, it's like if you look at a really big circle of all the knowledge on the planet's world and you zoom into the perimeter of the circle, really like to maximum magnification level, you will see a really small little dent. And that little dent is the dent you make when your PhD gets approved. So you push outside that little circle of knowledge of human or mankind, and you
Mhm.
know a lot about very little, but very deeply, right? Um, so speaking about that and your rookie advantage, when you have both of those things, and you know then what, we spoke about the Dunning-Kruger effect last time, when on year plus one. And
Mhm.
how some people that think they know a lot about something could could try to answer a lot of questions that they don't really have the answers to. Um, how do those three things when you mix them up in a formula, right? So Philip comes in to the Prince de Galles in a new organization, a large organization like Marriott, in a hotel that's been around for the longest time with a big reputation. You have your own reputation that you bring in. You have the rookie advantage. You also just got your PhD in values alignment, right? And those two worlds bump together. Are those two extremes? Are they your superpower then, or was it difficult to deal with both of those realities at the same time for you on a personal level?
Wow. Oh God, Ruud, what a question. Um, It all comes down to having clarity, I think. Yeah, you're talking about the Dunning-Kruger effect is you learn how little you know, actually, and then you start having the humility to learn, and then all of a sudden you start to be comfortable with the little things that you know.
Yeah.
Um, I was recently just thinking of how this transformation changed me. Is I come in to a hotel to transform or to change or to contribute, etc. But it transforms me as well, and
Mm,
this research or this work has changed me as well. It's not. I started by thinking, how can organizations be more aligned, and now I am asking, how can leaders become more intentional about creating environments where people can flourish. Yeah, it's deeper, it's different. I became more patient. I became probably more reflective, or I would even say more compassionate, because I'm trying to understand the context of people a bit more deeply. And at the same time, I became less tolerant of dysfunctions that are disguised in traditions. Because when people tell me, we've always done this like that, I just get mad. Yeah, it's so less tolerance about that. Um, and I also learned that kindness and courage are not opposites. Yeah, you can be very courageous and take unpopular decisions and say no to people by a pure act of kindness, because in the bigger things, you know that it will help them at some point. I remember uh, one manager in my early days in Chicago. I accepted a fake $50 bill, and I was written up. Yeah, she gave me a written warning because my bank was $50 short. And Joyce, that was her name, well, is her name. And she said,
still remember.
Phil, she said, Phil, no, she called me Uncle Phil. I love you, but I'm going to write your ass up. And I thought, okay. I never forgot it.
Yeah,
And I understood the reason why she did it, because there were rules, and it's because she has had to do it to other people as well.
yeah,
So yeah, I understood that. And in addition uh, to all this, learning about strategic alignment and transformation, I became less interested in being right, yeah, and more interested in being useful. Yeah. Um, 10 years ago, I wanted to have all the answers, and now I'm only asking questions. Is like questions: why do organizations drift into misalignment, or why do intelligent people tolerate cultures that exhaust them? Or even, why do leaders say people matter while rewarding entirely different behaviors? Yeah, so those questions are more relevant to me now than just being right. I just want to learn, and I think that the beginning of one wisdom is wonder. It's just to ask the question. And I have a director of rooms. He already he mocks me already by saying, "Well, what do you think?" Yeah, because this is what I always ask. What do you think? Because I can only create knowledge or having the wisdom to take the right decisions by getting as many facets as possible. Because if I tell them what I think, well, tendency would be that they will think what I think. So groupthink
yeah,
is really bad. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think that is in itself the sweet spot, right? Of being useful versus being right, right? Which I think, yeah, those suffering from the Dunning-Kruger effect very often um, um, have a tendency to want to be right, maybe based on a lack of knowledge or maybe too little knowledge about the actual subject matter with all
Or
due.
insecurity.
Yeah.
or just the need of being right.
Yeah.
Sometimes people want to have the last word, but it's okay to not have the last word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel the friction that comes out of that, right? Because that moment that you were describing with, was it Joyce and Uncle Phil, she called you,
Uncle Phil, yes.
right? You still remember because there was friction in that moment, and she was both kind and courageous in reprimanding you for taking the fake $50 bill.
Hmm.
But that lesson that you got early on in your career from that was a kind and courageous act of hers, or do you look at it differently now in hindsight?
Well, she followed the rules, certainly. I'm not sure if courage and kindness were at the top of her mind, but that is the essence that I got out of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes in French you say, qui aime bien châtie bien. The ones who love well also punish well. And I believe that this is the real essence of benevolence, is also to say no or to criticize, but to make people grow. Yeah,
Mm,
because being nice is easy. Yeah, but being kind and making the effort of criticizing so that the other people grow, that is hard because you have to think about the words. Like your question, do you want to leave conversations up to um,
up to
what
chance.
to chance?
Yeah.
No, you don't. There you don't, because you want people to grow. So um, you have to have some compassion also in when you're criticizing or when you um, coaching or counseling or advising.
Yeah.
Is sometimes you have to tell the things that are painful.
Mm. Back to your current space, right? Just as a question in the last conversation, I think you addressed something that I wrote down in my little book of design quotes, and it was don't value the targets, but target the values. Um,
Did I say that?
I believe you did. I didn't write the actual quote or on that design quotes listing, but I think it's something that you did say when it came to your experience of when you were still deeply studying and just submitted your PhD study. Now working for a big company like Marriott, right, which just opened its, what is it,
10,000.
100,000,
10,000.
10,000th hotel?
Yeah,
That's a lot of hotels,
that's a
10,000
lot of hotels.
properties.
Yes.
That is a lot of hotels.
Hmm.
Try to manage the scope and align all of the different targets that owners and hotel operators and general managers and shareholders and more importantly, probably all of those guests that stay at those hotels. This Saturday, I'm going to be staying at another one of those 10,000 properties in West Lafayette at Purdue University.
Hmm.
Um, how how does that resonate when you say don't value the target, target the values? Is that does that work on that scale?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, because targets can change. Yeah, criteria can change. KPIs can change, but values shouldn't change too much.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and I saw that we were just at the GM's conference in London very recently, and we were talking about values a lot. We were talking about the stuff that I have here at the back of my wall
yeah.
is leading with integrity, putting people first, pursuing excellence, embracing change, and they say save the world. Yeah, I just changed it slightly. Is to have a positive impact, because we can't change the world or save the world, but we can have a positive impact, um, one action at the time or one choice at the time. And I
In your own influence zone. Yeah, yeah,
exactly, and I just shuffled the values around a bit because sometimes one takes precedent over the other, but I think it always starts with integrity. If you
yeah,
don't have integrity, you can't put people first, or you can't embrace change, or you can't pursue excellence,
yeah,
and let alone have a positive impact. But when
yeah,
you combine the four first ones, then chances are quite high that you have a positive impact. And that is why I put a little two in front of the last sentence. It's to have a positive impact, because it's nice to have integrity, or to put people first, or to embrace change.
But to do what? Yeah,
To do what exactly?
yeah,
And that
yeah,
is to have a positive impact, to have to make a difference in somebody's life. And that difference can be very small, and we never know what difference we make, actually, because it's the interpretation of everyone, and we don't know who is in front of us, um, and what they get out of the conversation.
mm,
I recently, well, actually, yeah, this morning I wrote a little LinkedIn note to an employee who has left the company to join the Marriott Rive Gauche,
hmm,
and she wrote back, well, that she loved the exchange, and she loved the inspiration, and what I taught her. And those
mm,
were just casual conversations, but sometimes it
yeah,
resonates so deeply with people that we
yeah,
underestimate what we say. And
yeah,
that is the reason why you have to be more conscious about what you
yeah,
say.
yeah. And I think that resonates with what you said last on the Year Plus One. If you haven't heard that episode, recommend you check it out and see if you can spot the delta between Philippe in on the 15th of June 2026 and in June 2025. Because there you mentioned that somebody you'd met or that had spoken to you at some point, calling the hotel asking why, how come your hotel was number one? And she didn't realize who she was speaking to because you had picked up the phone or the phone was directed
Yes.
to you, and you had mentioned, and you asked this particular, I think it was a student at the time, and you said, "Was I nice?" Right? Was was that a memorable conversation? And it wasn't because later she discovered you were the general manager that, she was being nice to you, but you were apparently genuinely nice, because
Good.
every conversation matters.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Um,
you will never get an upgrade when you're not nice.
golden tip,
Yes,
right?
yes. Just be friendly, You just
How important is that kind of loyalty in a company like Marriott? How important is being nice, or and how important is I know we spoke about that a little bit, like, loyalty is a big currency, right? In big companies, because when you have 10,000 hotels, you have a large repository of people that, might come back to your hotel or not.
yes.
How important is loyalty in that, let's say, and loyalty versus being nice? If I'm like a platinum member, I don't know what the codes are at Marriott, but let's pretend I'm a Bonvoy, top tier member of some sort, um, versus the guest that's being really nice, but might just be signing up to Bonvoy as they check into the hotel.
Yeah, the nice person who is just signing up might be the top tier at Accor. So you never know.
Wow.
And they could just start with us also at the bottom level, but get very high very quickly. So I wouldn't judge. But as you say, the currency is loyalty, and
Yeah.
it's extremely important. And this reminds me of of a saying: customer satisfaction is worthless, customer loyalty is priceless. And to illustrate that, do you prefer your wife to be satisfied or to be loyal? So that's exactly it. You want to have our guests and our team members to be loyal. Yeah, loyalty is extremely important, but loyalty is also the result of your performance. Yeah, and the performance is the result of your alignment. Basically, it always comes back to that.
I'm always amazed at how Philippe can bring, seemingly theoretical concepts back into the most pragmatic, um,
If your couple is
practitioner-based
aligned, if your
feet in
couple
the
is
clay.
aligned, then everything works.
No, but that's a very very powerful way of thinking, and thank you for enlightening our listeners when it comes to this. If you happen to be in Paris, stop by the Prince de Galles. I would recommend to ask for Philippe if he's around and not on his speaking tours to leadership teams across the planet. I've had the pleasure of running across him 21 years ago, and we regularly have coffees, lunches, and meetups across the planet. It is always a treat. Before we let you go, Philippe, I need to ask you one question, which is the question that we ask all of our guests, and we've asked you before. If life is one event, what is the design intention Philippe would set for the next horizon of change?
I said it earlier, life is an event.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably just to have more clarity about your reason to be, knowing that your purpose might shift slightly, yeah. Through tension, through friction, through challenges, and but still pursue it and pursue your North Star and stick to those things that are dear to yourself.
Yeah. And for those of you that are in the audio version only, Philippe was pointing at the 4 values and the consequence of the values that we started off with: act with integrity, put people first, pursue excellence, embrace change, in order to have a positive impact, right? So this is, I think, again, a very powerful lesson. Thank you, Philippe, for sharing that with our listeners. May we reach out to you for the year plus 3 episode,
yes, of course,
to see what's happening in Philippe's horizon of change, because there's never a dull moment when it comes to Philippe Clarinval's wisdom and practitioners' insights. And I always enjoy, for the whole conversation, I think I sat here with a big smile on my face. As if you haven't seen we also have a video version, but Philippe is a perpetual smiler when he converses, even when it's about very serious topics. And I appreciate that very much in him. Thank you for being a dear friend, for being back on our show, and for being a change maker in this series. And we'll look forward to speaking again next year, which I'll invite you for, and many times in between.
Thank you so much, Ruud. It was lovely to be there. Be well.
Absolutely.
Oh, voila. This was nice.
You've been hanging out backstage on Design to Change Designer Conversations. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe and share conversations online using hashtag Design to Change and hashtag Event Canvas. Want more thought-provoking content like this? Visit designtochange.online to purchase your copy of Design to Change, elevating your abilities to look and act beyond the now. Don't forget, it's more than just a book. Experience a hard copy, audio format, video format, and even augmented reality. Experience it in your style and format. Tune into our next episodes and hear from more designers and change makers. Until then, we look forward to our next conversation.